Kerry, I told you, I thought Buffalo would win.
Okay,
I did. Mm-hmm. I didn't guarantee it, but I'll say this. If they were ever going to win and beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, it was supposed to be yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, the Chiefs they were 5-5 to finish the season, really up and down, shaky. You know what I mean? Like really. And then Patrick Mahomes having to play a road game. He's had all these home games, right? Not counting the Super Bowl. Those are neutral site. I'm talking about a playoff game on the road. You know, there's a big difference. Between the two. And I thought they're finally going to get over this. I mean, we remember the 13 seconds in Kansas City. They should have won that game. If they squib kicked that ball on the kickoff, they probably would have won that game.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. Like
that was one of the biggest chokes ever. Should have won that game. But anyway, I figured okay, here it is. The Bills have turned their season around, won 6 in a row, right? It was impressive. Okay, wow, okay. Here it is. Here's their opportunity to make a run at the Super Bowl finally get there. This team has been together for a few years. No way, no how. And from here on, we're now going to call Buffalo, New York.
Uh-oh.
Wide Right, New York. Wide Right, New York is the new name for Buffalo, New York.
Wide Right.
Because that's all that we know about that town. My God.
Man.
Another missed field goal in the history of the Buffalo Bills. How many times? Scott Norwood.
Yes.
I remember that Super Bowl. That gave Bill Parcells his first one with the Giants. That had he made that might have changed their fortunes. Remember, Kerry, they went to 4 straight Super Bowls, and that was the first one.
Yep.
They should have won. It was a makeable. It wasn't like an 89-yard field goal attempt. It was definitely makeable, and Scott Norwood missed it wide right. And then here they go, another situation to tie the game and at least force it into overtime, and you never know what happens there. And another missed field goal for the Buffalo Bills and their history and their lore. And I'll say this. It's time to retool, and if you want to move on from the coach, if you want to make some major changes with personnel, you got the quarterback. He's there. I got that. But you might have to now reevaluate some things. Yeah. This team, as we know it, Kerry, they're not going to get it done. Because if you couldn't get it done against this Kansas City Chiefs team at home after you've won 6 in a row to turn your season around, you're not going to do it. I'm done with these Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm done with them too. I'm done with them as well, but I was done with them even this year coming into the year. So the noise that was trickling out of Buffalo in the offseason coming into
I remember that, and it was loud.
It was loud, right? And so I knew something was wrong there, and you could see it during the season. Obviously, they had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of things that took place, but the energy wasn't right, and you can't stay status quo with this team anymore. It's been long enough. The head coach, McDermott, has done a great job, but
maybe he can't get you past this. Maybe this is all, there are guys like that, Kerry, who are good, that can get you to a certain point, and maybe they can't finish the job. And you got to start to look at this. How in the world were they even in that situation to have a missed kick cost them their season?
And that's the part that's the fact that they were in that position. Once you get in that position, you give Patrick Mahomes a chance to be a little bit better than you, and he was a little bit better than him down the stretch, right? But, again, this game, I called the Chiefs winning it, and it wasn't because the Chiefs were playing better. It was because I didn't trust Buffalo, one, but also they were severely injured on the defensive side of the ball, right? And so with all those being taken into account, I just didn't think they would be good enough to get it done, and I was proven right down the stretch. But it was a really good game, and, you got to tip your hats to the Chiefs as well. But, again, talking about something being wrong with Buffalo, you can see it in the way they play. Number one, Allen's playing not to make mistakes. And so the way that he
can't play like that. You got to be natural. You know this. You're a former athlete. Come on, man. When you get out there, when you start thinking too much, am I right? Problems are going to happen.
You got to play the way you play. And we know that, Josh has been turnover prone. But, again, that hasn't stopped us from putting him in that top conversation of the quarterbacks, because when he's at his best, I mean, there's 1 or 2 guys that you could throw in the mix with him. But the way he played yesterday was so safe. He was running the ball well. He made plays. He played a good game, but he wasn't.
He had
Josh
less than 200
Allen.
yards, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
So
it was scaled back.
And even not even looking at his go-to guy in the past, right? It's been Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs had 3 catches in that game.
How? You should Stephon Diggs, when he walks onto the field, should have 7 catches already in the stat sheet,
Easy.
right? Like before you even start the game.
Easy. Down the stretch, when they had to be forced to kick the field goal, there was a wide-open Stephon Diggs across the middle where he can just drop it to him. He could probably get the first down. If he doesn't, he cuts it to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1.
Right.
And it's a different play call, and they can go in and probably win this game without kicking the 3. So we see them missing the field goal, but there were so many opportunities.
There were the plays that were
there.
left out on the field.
Yeah.
Amazing. I don't know how you can bring this team back and expect a different result. It's just been and maybe they'll never get over the 13 seconds. You know, like I know people sometimes they go, well, what did I have to do with what happened? Well, sometimes it does.
Yeah.
I should tell people that all the time with the Lions for a long time. Mm-hmm. All right, they've won 2 playoff games now.
I told you.
We'll talk about that. But for a long time, no matter who came along, there was something that always held them back.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that does, like your past, you know, what the organization was about, you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff. The same way that it works the other way when you're a winning organization, and somehow you always find a way to win.
Yeah.
That's like the Chiefs. They weren't like, they blew them out of the water. This is not that Chiefs team, but they found a way to win. Things worked out in their favor.
Yeah.
Last year, you remember they got the penalty at the end of the game that set up the game-winning field goal, which was a ticky-tack thing that probably shouldn't have been called, right? That helped them.
Yeah.
And they got a Super Bowl out of that. And this year they advanced to the AFC Championship game because of missed field goal at least. I mean, there was a chance they still could have lost that game.
Yes. I mean, with Buffalo having, like I said, the injuries coming into this game defensively, I mean, the game plan that Buffalo had, it was brilliant. I mean, the first 4 possessions in that game, Buffalo was out possessing them at the tune of like 25 plays to 8. And so the way the game was going was definitely in their favor. Then all of a sudden, you know, defensively, like I said, I think they were missing a lot of their key players. So, you know, Patrick Mahomes was finding holes and making plays and was scoring on the possessions that they had. Even though they were limited in their possessions, they still were able to find ways to score.
So even with some people missing, I mean, can you use that as a mulligan? Can you use that as an excuse?
No, you got to win.
No, I'm talking about if you're the ownership and front office to say, wow, we were missing defensive players. I think sometimes you can look at that and say, well, we need to run this back. But I just think the bickering before the season started, just some of the stuff that's going on, it just doesn't feel. I was out on them. I didn't think they were even going to make the playoffs. I did not.
I'm the same.
And then they won 6 in a row or whatever, and then you go, well, maybe they got it turned around. Remember they won the game in Miami to win the division and all that at the last game of the season. So I thought, well, maybe I'm wrong.
Even in those games, for me, I wasn't convinced that they were as scary as some people thought. I did think they were, you know, winning and I would say hot, but they weren't scary to me. I mean, they were a team that if they did get it all together and they were healthy at that point, yes, they could be a scary team. But I wasn't worried about them. I mean, even that Miami game, Miami hasn't proven anything to me for them to find a way to win that close game or win a big game. They haven't done that. So, you know, you give Buffalo credit, but I was more I felt bad. I felt bad for Miami because they haven't been able to step up and win those games. So, you know, it's Buffalo, I think, I mean, number one, I know Stephon Diggs won't be there next year. So that's going to be different.
So there you go. That gives you even more reason to just say make some major changes.
They're going to make changes for sure.
No doubt.